Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. A lot to talk about today. Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth has been out for a little over a week now, so you're going to see cards from the new product in today's video, and there's some interesting things happening there. Now, of course, you probably heard by now the One Ring has been found. Everybody's losing their minds. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear. It is definitely time to panic. I guess if you believe everything you see online anyway. So far, pricing trends have followed the same pattern as any new modern legal set, but we're going to keep tracking these prices every week in these Market Watch videos, so if things start to get a little strange, we'll point that out as we go. The bottom line is Wizards has never done anything quite like this before with the Chase card 1 of 1, with the IP from Lord of the Rings. Nobody knows what's going to happen with card prices right now, and if anyone tells you they do, they're pushing a narrative that might not necessarily be real. So be careful with what you read out there. And the best thing, as always, you can do is just stick close to the price trends and see what's happening in real time and then react from there. Anyway, our threshold today is going to be $2. Again, we're not going to talk about any card unless it's moving up or down, at least $2. And before we get started, I did want to say thank you to one of the viewers who gave a super thanks for last weekend's video, Alpal8319. Alpal, thank you for all the generous super thanks tips. Alpal's on here almost every week, always looking out for the channel and supporting us. Can't tell you how much that means. Thank you so much. And one other thing really quick, of course, you can always go to FlipsideGaming.com and use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Commander Masters products there. The official preview season begins July 11th, so that's coming up pretty soon, but we already know at least a few cards that are going to be in the set. Remember, if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin with the Standard Legal Spotlight. This is where we look at the standard legal cards moving the most this week. Only one to talk about, but it's an interesting one. Ruins Recluse. This is up 214 this week to 352. Okay, so this is one of the Jumpstart cards for March of the Machine, so it is harder to find than a typical uncommon. It's hot now because it's a unique spider. It's been in commander builds like Finn the Fangbearer, but now there is a new legendary spider from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth that many are building around in commander. That is Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. That's why this card is jumping now. And that quickly takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. We got some cards going down, some going up. Let's just jump in. First we have Thoughtseize. This is the one from the Time Shifted subset and Time Spiral Remastered. It goes down $2.11 to $21. So this copy is retracting after some increases that occurred earlier in the year. Still a big card in Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy. Even sees a little commander play at times. Terror of the Peaks. This is down $2.35 this week to $32.59. Popular card in Dragon Tribal Commander decks like the Ur-Dragon, for example, which is getting reprinted in Commander Masters. Many think this may also see a reprint in Commander Masters too, which is why it's soft right now. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. The Ultimate Masters copy goes down $2.28 this week to $33.58. The Magic 2015 copy goes down $3.20 to $32.24. Last week we saw the Planar Chaos copy dropping. Now these two are moving down pretty significantly. You do see this in Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, and Commander. The card gets a ton of play, but the previous copies have been culled now that it has been reprinted in the Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, Realms, and Relics subset. A quick note about the subset, it will not make any cards legal in Modern if they were not already legal there, but there are some spicy reprints of well-known cards that are getting a Lord of the Rings treatment. Realms and Relics cards are found in collector boosters and non-foil, and in draft set and collector booster displays as traditional Surge foil box toppers. Right now, the prices for the new copies are all over the place, so it's going to be interesting to see where they land, as well as where the previous copies land. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx is next. This is the one from the list. It goes down $6.51 to $41. Still a big Commander and Pioneer card. But the copy from the list, which has been harder to find in high grade online compared to the Theros one, does tend to get inflated. This week it's retracting some, getting much closer to the price point of that Theros copy. Jaya's Immolating Inferno, the one from the list, is the first card moving up in this section today. It goes up $2.17 to $7.41. So similar situation here with this card from the list. This particular copy is harder to find in high grade online now compared to others, so it has inflated. It does see some Commander play in a variety of builds, but if you want one, you can get a different copy much cheaper. And the last card in this section today is Kiora Best the Sea God. It goes up 410 to 825. This saw a little commander playing in different builds, including Kiora's Sovereign of the Deep, for example, but now it is seeing a lot more commander play thanks to Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Many players are getting this for their saga builds around Tom Bombadil. And to a lesser degree, I've seen this in some Goldberry River Daughter decks too, but Tom is the real catalyst here. Alright, here's where things start to get good. The Modern Legal Spotlight, and there's a lot of activity in this section today, so let's just jump in. Skithiryx the Blight Dragon. This is the Scars of Mirrodin copy this time, going down 205 to 1502. And this card just remains cold. Good commander card, but it was reprinted in the Multiverse Legends subset in March of the Machine, which has made the previous copies cool off. Bloodstained Mire. The Onslaught copy down 216 to 7147. So fetch lands see a ton of play in Modern, Legacy, and Commander, but this original copy is cold this week. These Onslaught fetch lands were reprinted in Khans of Tarkir, but that was their last non-premium reprint, leading some to believe that they could show up in a product sooner than later, perhaps even Commander Masters. Saruman of Many Colors. This is down 224 to 250. Okay, our first new card, and this one's turning out to be a fairly popular commander, but many of these Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth cards are still trying to find their price point. And since they just started getting into circulation recently, many are seeing price adjustments down like this one. Grand Abolisher. Now this harder to find copy from archenemy Nicol Bolas goes down 225 this week to 2536. The price here was a little inflated, but this copy now coming down a little bit closer to the other copies. It is a solid commander card. Training Grounds from Rise of the Eldrazi down 238 this week to 1641. Great commander card for certain decks like Kenrith the Returned King, but it was recently reprinted in March of the Machine The Aftermath, which is why this copy is soft. Cavern of Souls. This is the one from the list that goes down 246 to 5230. This gets plenty of play in Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and Commander, but this also just got a reprint in the Realms and Relics subset in Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. And remember, it was reprinted not too long ago in Double Masters 2022 as well. Those reprints have made previous copies cool off. Gandalf White Rider. This goes down 252 to 355. Now this one's from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth starter kit, and a lot of cards from that product are starting to go down as it gets into players' hands. That's simply what's happening here, but the card is still seeing commander play in builds old and new, including an Aragorn the Uniter decks. Frodo Determined Hero is down 255 to 345. Here's another starter kit card moving down. It is seeing play as a commander, and it's in the 99 of both old and new builds in the format too. Spiteful Banditry is down 259 to 1050. Now this one's from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth main set, and like I mentioned a moment ago, trending down because packs are getting cracked this week. These cards are getting into circulation, but it is another solid commander card and builds old and new already. One quick example is Sauron the Dark Lord. You see this in those decks. Elish Norn Grand Cenobite. This is the iconic Masters copy this time. It goes down 278 to 2334. This continues to be a popular commander card, but it has been cooled off by a recent reprint. It was reprinted in the March of the Machine Multiverse Legends subset. Emrakul, the Eon's Torn. This is the copy from the list. It goes down 314 this week to 1910. So this is retracting after a bit of a bump last week, but copies of this card have been soft really since the reprinting in Double Masters 2022. It does, however, get a lot of play in Modern and Legacy. Gemstone Caverns. This is the Time Spiral copy. It goes down 350 this week to 5698. Last week we saw the Time Spiral remastered copy moving down. This time it's this one. Now the card in general has been hot since it has been getting a ton of Modern play and a good amount of Commander play too, but it was just reprinted. This is another card in the Realms and Relics subset from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, which again has caused previous copies to cool off. Bilbo's Ring goes down 626 to 899. Another Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth starter kit card that is moving down as copies get out there. It is showing up in a number of new Commander decks though. Sauron the Lidless Eye. This goes down 713 to $5.96. Now this is the foil copy that comes with the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth starter kit. Some are using this as the commander, and it's also showing up in the 99 of other new builds there, but again, prices are dropping as this product gets into players' hands. Last card moving down in this section is Aragorn and Arwen Wed. It is down 908 to $4.99, and this too is the foil copy that comes with the starter kit. Much like the previous card, many are using this as a commander and others are putting it in the 99 of new builds there, like Aragorn the Uniter for example. But again, this is moving down as circulation is starting to satisfy demand. Alright, here we go with the cards moving up. Nazgul is the first one. It's up 205 to 1299, but there's 9 pieces of art for this card, and the one that's moving up to 205 is the one you see on the screen right now. Okay, it is an uncommon from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth main set, but the card does break the deck limitation rule, so you can have 9 copies of this in a deck. Right now, all copies of this card are pretty inflated. So what's the bottom line right now? Why do people want this? Well, you should know by now, when a tribe gets new tools, it typically takes off fast in Commander. That is happening here as players try to assemble Wraith decks. This is a good upgrade to the Hosts of Mordor Commander deck, but most players are getting this to add to a fresh build around a card from there, Lord of the Nazgul. To a lesser degree, I'm seeing this in builds around a couple other cards from there too, Sauron Lord of the Rings, and Saruman the White Hand. Plus, this is also in other Commander builds around cards from the main set, like Sauron the Dark Lord, Smeagol Helpful Guide, Frodo Sauron's Bane, and more. Lord of the Nazgul, though, is really the catalyst for this. Witch King Bringer of Ruin, up 225 to 1182. This is a Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth starter kit card that is actually moving up. Not surprisingly, though, it is a Wraith. Again, some are getting this to upgrade the Hosts of Mordor deck. Others are putting it in fresh builds around cards from there. Obviously, the key one is Lord of the Nazgul, but it's also in Sauron Lord of the Rings builds and Saruman the White Hand decks. Plus, you're seeing this in builds around some cards from the main set too, like Sauron the Dark Lord, Sauron the Necromancer, and others. Eleanor Gardner is next, and this one's a Jumpstart card, which is harder to find than a normal rare from the main set. It's going up 448 this week to 943. Many want this to upgrade another one of the new Commander decks, Food and Fellowship. And players are putting it in fresh Commander builds around some cards from there. 2 different sets of partner commanders, Frodo Adventurous Hobbit and Sam Loyal Attendant, as well as Merry Warden of Isengard and Pippin Warden of Isengard. And I've seen this used in builds around Bilbo Birthday Celebrant and Treebeard Gracious Host from that deck as well. Additionally, it's in Commander builds around cards from the main set too, like Samwise Gamgee and Shelob Child of Ungoliant. Plus, it's showing up in other builds old and new as well in the format. This is one to keep an eye on. Ring Wraiths. This is another Jumpstart rare, again harder to find than a normal rare from the main set. This goes up 589 this week to 789. Players are putting together those Commander Wraith builds. Again, you see some using this as an upgrade to the Hosts of Mordor, but most are putting this in fresh builds around Lord of the Nazgul from there. But it is showing up in builds around another card from that deck too, Sauron Lord of the Rings. Plus, it's in Commander builds around some cards from the main set, like Sauron the Dark Lord, Smeagol Helpful Guide, and more. Academy Manufactor, this is up 912 to 1880, but this is the copy from the March of the Machine Tinker Time Commander deck. The Modern Horizons 2 copy has calmed down a little bit and stabilized. This one, though, because it is harder to find, still moving up quite a bit. Eventually, I would expect the 2 copies to get closer together in value. But anyway, this is hot because of the support food tokens got from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. And because of that support, this card is seeing more modern play now. It is a 4 of typically now in Asmo Food and Lonis combo. Plus, you're seeing this even more in the Commander format now too, and it was already getting a lot of play. It's been showing up in builds around a card from March of the Machine, The Aftermath, Rocco Street Chef, but now many are getting this, of course, to upgrade Food and Fellowship. Others are picking it up to run in fresh builds around cards from there. Again, the 2 sets of partner commanders, Frodo Adventurous Hobbit and Sam Loyal Attendant, as well as Merry Warden of Isengard and Pippin Warden of Isengard. And you're seeing this in Commander builds around cards from the main set too, Shelob Child of Ungoliant and Samwise Gamgee. And if all that wasn't enough, it was mentioned on a Command Zone podcast episode again this week. This time they were looking at the best Lord of the Ring cards for the 99 of your Commander deck. Academy Manufactor came up when they were talking about 2 different cards, Lotho Corrupt Sheriff and Mirkwood Bats, so that might have brought some more attention to it too this week. And the last card in this section, you knew it had to be here, the One Ring. It goes up $19.87 to $70.05. This ain't the 1-of-1 copy, but still very expensive for a regular copy of this card, right? Well, that's because it's having a big impact on the modern format already, showing up in a ton of builds there, like Mono Green Tron, Omnith decks, and many more. Aspiring Spike has been streaming several decks for this card recently, including a pretty spicy 1-ring 8-key build that runs this, Voltaic Key and Manifold Key. I've also seen some trying this out in Legacy and Vintage decks. For example, I've seen this in Vintage Prison Shops. And you betcha this card is getting a lot of Commander play too. Many are using it to upgrade the Hosts of Mordor and Food and Fellowship. Again, it's in fresh builds around Lord of the Nazgul and Sauron Lord of the Rings from the Hosts of Mordor. And it's in those partner Commander builds around Frodo Adventurous Hobbits and Sam Loyal Attendant, as well as the build around Bilbo Birthday Celebrant from Food and Fellowship pretty consistently now. And yeah, it's in some Commander builds around cards from the main set too, Sauron the Dark Lord, Aragorn the Uniter, and lots more. Plus, it was discussed on the Command Zone podcast episode looking at the best Lord of the Rings cards for the 99 of your deck. The one of one may have been found, but any copy of this card is the real deal. And just like that, it is time for our salute to all Eternal formats, but mostly Commander. This is the Eternal Spotlight. So obviously not every card in this section is going to be legal in every Eternal format, but none of these cards are legal in Standard, Pioneer, or Modern. Boromir Gondor's Hope. Okay, this is interesting. It's down 216 to 70 cents. This is from the Riders of Rohan Commander deck. So you're going to see several cards from that particular deck that had maybe some inflated prices going into the release window that are moving down sharply this week. Now, most likely it's because it was one of the less popular decks and some players may have just wanted to pre-order singles to begin with. But then something happened just a few days ago. One card from the deck blew up. We're going to see it at the end of the video. That led to a lot of those decks getting opened all of a sudden to sell that card in the secondary market, which flooded the market with all the other cards. Now, the prices of the cards that you'll see in this section from that deck that are moving down this week would most likely have gotten there anyway. They just got there a lot faster. And I will say, all of the ones going down from that deck have something in common. They all obviously are seeing Commander play in builds around cards from Riders of Rohan, but they're showing up in Commander builds around other cards as well. So I won't keep repeating that as we go through. When we get to a card from that deck, I'll just point out it is from Riders of Rohan. Gilded Drake. This is down $231 to $246.81. Small percentage decrease here, but I think it's worth looking at. Here's why. This reserve list card sees some Commander play, but it has been very cold. It is now dropped down to price-wise where it was in December 2020, since many speculators and flippers have moved on, just as they have in other collectible markets. Baragon of the Guard, down $245 to $187. This is from the Riders of Rohan Commander deck. Norwood Priestess. This is down $246 to $109.99. Still yet to be reprinted. It does get a tad bit of Commander play, but you would think this is well overdue for a reprint. Next we have Force of Will. That Dominaria Remastered retro copy is still trying to find its price point. It's down $220 to $59.70 this week. The Double Masters copy is down $249 to $67.40. This is a staple in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander, but the previous copies of this card have cooled down since the reprintings in Dominaria Remastered. Metal Worker down $249 to $131.32, another reserve list card that has been soft. This one gets some Commander play, but its price is back to where it was in early 2021. Fealty to the Realm is down $272 to 68 cents. Another card from the Riders of Rohan Commander deck. And another card from Riders of Rohan. This is Faramir, Student of Gondor. It goes down $293 to $117. Chrome Mox from Double Masters down $337 to $75. This is a good Legacy, Vintage, and Commander card, but it was reprinted recently in the Secret Lair 30th Anniversary Countdown Kit. Call for Age, you guessed it. This is also from Riders of Rohan. This goes down $340 to 97 cents. Your Own Personal Tutor is down $350 this week to $49.94. This is still in decrease mode. For a long time, many have put this to the test in Vintage Doomsday and some Commander builds, but soon you're going to be able to reach out and touch the first ever reprint of the card in Commander Masters, and that's why this has cooled off. Lake of the Dead down $352 to $95.74. This reserve list card is coming down off some recent jumps that appeared to be a buyout. It does see a little Commander play. Time Spiral, this is down $370 to $107.99. Another soft reserve list card. This does not see as much play as it used to. It does show up in some Commander decks here and there though. Entomb, the original Odyssey copy, down $378 to $22.49. Solid Legacy and Commander card, but it was reprinted recently in Dominaria Remastered. Arachnogenesis down $402 to $60.91. This card is yet to be reprinted. And it did spike recently when players were thinking about building commander decks around Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. Now it is retracting some as more copies have entered the marketplace because of that dramatic spike. Ancient Tomb, this original Tempest copy, still cold. It's down 404 to 7145. Big Legacy, Vintage, and Commander card, but it was just reprinted in the Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, Realms and Relics subset. Crown of Gondor, you guessed it, this is in Riders of Rohan. It goes down 446 this week to $1.88. Intuition from Tempest down 523 to 166.73. It does get a little Legacy play and some Commander play, but it is retracting after some recent increases. Oath of Aorel, this goes down 550 to 185, and yup, this is from Riders of Rohan. Archivist of Gondor, another card from Riders of Rohan. This is down 571 to 67 cents. This one's mostly showing up in Commander builds around cards from that deck, with the exception of Aragorn the Uniter from the main set. Tundra from Revised, down 571 to 475.60. Like I've been saying for a number of weeks now, these revised dual lands have had a hard time finding their price point since the 30th anniversary edition was announced and subsequently released. This week though, there's only 2 of them in the video. Maybe they're starting to stabilize. They of course do see play wherever they're legal. And here's the second one. Savannah from Revised goes down 641 to 335.40. Earthcraft moves down 681 to 112.92. This reserve list card is also down to where it was during the beginning of 2021. It does see some commander play, usually in Chatterfang Squirrel General, where it combos with Squirrel Nest. And the last card moving down today is Lion's Eye Diamond. It goes down $853 to $480. This reserve list card continues to retract and is now back to its price point from the beginning of 2021 as well. Good Legacy and Commander card. Cover of Darkness. This goes up $237 this week to $44.39. So this card was dipping a couple weeks ago, in part because many think it may finally see a reprint in Commander Masters, but this week it is moving up again because of Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. This has always been a good card for tribal builds running black in Commander, but now many are getting it for those Wraith builds based around Lord of the Nazgul. Not surprisingly, this is also showing up in some Shelob Child of Ungoliant Commander decks too. And beyond that, this was in a Bramaz Blight of Oreskos deck on an Extra Turns episode of the Command Zone podcast this week. Could have brought some eyes to it. And additionally, this does get some pre-modern play, and that format has been having a bigger impact on card prices lately. Blossoming Bog Beast. It goes up $283 this week to $958. This is seeing increased commander play since many are picking this up for the Food and Fellowship commander deck. It's also in new builds around cards from there. Again, those 2 sets of partner commanders, Frodo Adventurous Hobbit and Sam Loyal Attendant, as well as Merry Warden of Isengard and Pippin Warden of Isengard. And it's also used in decks around Bilbo Birthday Celebrant from there. Cavern Horde Dragon is up $355 to $19.98. This is from the Hosts of Mordor commander deck. It is seeing play in builds around cards from there, of course, but it's in other commander decks too, like Sauron the Dark Lord, Miram Sentinel Worm, and much more. After all, this is a dragon that makes treasure tokens, so I'm sure it's going to continue to see a lot of commander play. And it was also discussed in that Command Zone podcast episode this week, looking at the best Lord of the Rings cards for the 99 of your commander deck. Mind Over Matter. This is up $367 this week to $60. This reserve list card has seen a little commander play, but it's been moving down for a number of weeks after it saw an aggressive spike. The spike occurred when the One Ring was previewed, because Mind Over Matter and the One Ring make a 2-card combo that will let you draw your deck. Now that the set is out, this is bumping up some again. Maybe a bit expensive for a CEDH combo, but I am sure you're going to see this attempted at the commander table. No surprise, Lord of the Nazgul is up $397 to $897. Here's that card from the Hosts of Mordor commander deck that we've been talking about. Many want to build new commander Wraith decks around it. It is also seeing play around other cards from the Hosts of Mordor in Commander, and you're seeing it in decks around Sauron the Dark Lord from the main set. Grim Monolith of $463 to $257.49. This is rebounding after dipping last week. In Legacy, it's a Mystic Forge combo, Vintage Paradoxical Outcome. It's also a solid commander card in a lot of different decks. Sliver Queen, this is up $527 to $330. This reserve list legendary Sliver was spiking after the Commander Master Sliver Swarm commander deck was announced. In recent weeks, it has been retracting some, but as that deck and the new Sliver commander they previewed, Sliver Grave Mother Inch Closer, this is moving up again. It is a good sliver commander and in the 99 of sliver builds too. Raise the Palisade up $8.52 to $11. This is from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Elven Council commander deck. It's in new commander builds around cards from there, but it's also quickly showing up in other tribal decks too. For example, I have seen this in Wraith builds around Lord of the Nazgul, and in Knight builds around Sidar Jabari of Zhalfir. Guillaume Master Chef is up 1032 this week to 1468. This is the foil copy that came with the Commander 2021 Witherbloom Witchcraft deck. It has been a fairly popular commander and in the 99 in some builds, but now it is getting pushed by the food support coming from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. It's a good upgrade to Food and Fellowship and in fresh builds around cards from there. Again, the two partner commander sets, Frodo Adventurous Hobbit and Sam Loyal Attendant, as well as Merry Warden of Isengard and Pippin Warden of Isengard. Plus you're seeing this in Bilbo Birthday Celebrant decks too. However, it's also showing up in another popular new commander build around a card from the main set, Shelob Child of Ungoliant. By the way, the extended art copy of this card, oh yeah, that's hot too. It is moving up $24.35 this week to $36.99. And our last card today is the one from Riders of Rohan that I was alluding to earlier. It is 4th Eolingas, and it is up 1472 to 1972. Yeah, this is the card that caused all the turbulence in the cards from the Riders of Rohan commander deck. And why is that? Well, it's already seeing play in Legacy and Vintage, since it can give you Monarch very quickly with this and a 1-drop creature. In Legacy, this is an Boros Initiative build that's been performing well, getting a lot of attention. And in Vintage, people have been trying it in Jeskai Control. It's getting commander play though too, not just in builds around cards from Riders of Rohan. I've seen this in Aragorn the Uniter decks from the main set, for example, but Legacy really is the key driver this time. And yes, there is an extended art copy that is jumping as well. It's up $12.73 this week to $16.98. Now this copy is actually cheaper due to the amount of collector booster boxes that have been opened, which is typical after a new set is released. Not just because the One Ring has been found, but again, like I said at the top of the video, we'll have to see how that impacts the market in the coming weeks. And that is going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. A lot of interesting things happening. Like I said, the future is uncertain. We'll have to see what happens now that the One Ring has been found. I do think it's going to have some impact on prices, but there's a lot of other factors out there. Like I said at the top of the video, I mean, this set is modern legal. You know players are going to need cards for Modern, Legacy, Vintage, and Commander coming out of these products. And there are some really good cards out there. It has the Lord of the Rings IP, which some love, some don't like as much. But it also could be an obstacle at times for Wizards wanting to reprint cards. There's still other expensive chase cards out there like the Soul Rings. Time will tell, but like I always say, follow the market yourself. Don't listen to what you hear online. People do have motives for what they post in comment sections and such. Sometimes those motives are noble, but others can be more nefarious. So with that, hey, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.